I'd like to introduce Nick Frankle. He's going to be the presenter for the Rotary Foundation and you. Nick served as the District 5240 governor in 1617, and he is currently District 5240 Rotary Foundation Committee Chair and advisor for the district's Peace Builder Club program. He's past president and current operations chair of the Rotary Action Group, RAG, for Community Economic Development. He has served on the Southwest Pets Committee and the Zone 2627 Education Committee, helping to train future Rotary leaders. Nick has participated in projects around the world. I can vouch for that. We've gone with him a couple of times and has seen firsthand how Rotarians change the world one life at a time, while understanding that the people most changed by humanitarian projects are us, the Rotarians themselves. He's a major donor. He's a member of the Bequest Society and the Paul Harris Society. And Nick, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce. And I want to thank all of you who are joining us this morning. As Bruce said, if you can put your questions in the chat, we will stop periodically at the end of each logical section of the presentation, and we'll begin to answer questions. We call this the Rotary Foundation and you because it is a partnership. If you don't give to the Rotary Foundation, then we don't have any money. And what the Rotary Foundation does for you in return, it helps you fund impactful, sustainable projects right here in District 5240 and in communities around the world. For the next 50 minutes, we're going to focus on the why, the how, and the impact. It's going to be a lot of information. We're doing a very high-level view. Don't be overwhelmed. There are many, many people, including the members of the District Rotary Foundation Committee, who are here to help you. And without further ado, let's go forward. So what are we going to talk about today? The first thing we're going to talk about is why. Rotarians need to understand why they should give to the foundation. What is the benefit to them? And more importantly, what is the benefit to the world? Then we're going to talk how. How do you and your Rotary Club set and achieve Rotary Foundation goals, both in terms of giving to the foundation and of using foundation funds to help you and your club unite for good? And third is the impact. What is the local and global impact of the Rotary Foundation? As many of you know, the Rotary International Convention in Atlanta in 1917, then RI President Arch Clumpf told Rotarians that Rotary should accept endowments for the purpose of doing good in the world. What we now know as the Rotary Foundation began with a donation of $26.50, which in today's dollars is probably about $600. In 1930, the foundation made its first grant, a donation of $500 to the International Society for Crippled Children, an organization that sponsored research into polio. And little could they know that 55 years later, Rotary would take on the task of ridding the world of this most crippling disease. Simon Sinek wrote a book titled Start With Why. So if we're going to ask people to support the Rotary Foundation, we also need to start with why. So let me ask you a question. Why do you give to the Rotary Foundation? Would you put your answers in the chat box, and when we stop, we'll have Bruce share some of them. But let's take a look at what makes the Rotary Foundation unique and special. And I think one of the most important things to remember about the Rotary Foundation is that its sole purpose is to enable Rotarians just like us to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through projects that create peace, improve health, support education, and alleviate poverty. And if you look where most of the money goes from the Rotary Foundation, it goes to Rotarians. Second is its stewardship. 88% of the funds received by the Rotary Foundation are spent on program awards and operations. And for those of you who live in the non-profit world, that's a fairly impactful number. As a result, Charity Navigator has given the Rotary Foundation a 4-star rating for the past 16 years. Third are the areas of focus. Where do we do the projects supported by the Rotary Foundation? And as I think many of you know, clubs in our district are actively supporting projects in each of these 7 areas of focus, both in our own community and in communities around the world. In the last Rotary year, the Rotary Foundation awarded almost $300 million in grants. Fourth is the multiplier. The Johns Hopkins University Center for Civil Society Studies tell us that the impact of Rotarians and the Rotary Foundation in solving the problems of our world is 9 times what we invest. With almost $300 million in grants last year, you do the math. 300 million times 9 is a pretty impressive network. You can decide how you give to the Rotary Foundation. And Bruce, is there anything that we should share at this point in time before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. To the question of why are we contributing to the Rotary Foundation? Sharon from Simi Valley Noon says to exponentially grow the impact of each dollar contributed. David Gore, who's our district stewardship chair. Sorry, David. You're not a stewardess. David says, together with other Rotarians, I can rid the world of polio. Together with others, I can make the world a better place to live. Less disease, greater education, cleaner water and environment, healthier individuals, families, and economies. And from Janie and I, from the Rotary Club of Cambria, we have found it to enrich our lives. Personally, what it does for us, it enriches our lives with friendships and doing. Oh, and here's one more from Jerry from Tehachapi: to do what is good and right for the community when others complain and criticize because they're ignorant. Now, I won't comment on that, Jerry, but you're dead on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you very much for all of you who put in. I mean, we all have our reasons, but at the end of the day, our goal is to make the world a better place for all of us. So let's start with the annual fund. The annual fund is the primary source of funding for Rotary Foundation grants and programs. The annual funds includes SHARE, the World Fund, and funds for areas of focus. Let's talk about SHARE because that's where most of our money goes. Your donations to the annual fund are invested for 3 years. The interest and the growth of the annual fund donations help fund Rotary Foundation operations, which is one of the reasons we can be so efficient. But the good news is, at the end of 3 years, 95% of the funds that are given to the annual fund are returned to support Rotary projects. Half of the funds go to the World Fund, and they support global grants. As many of you know, the World Fund matches district-designated funds, and we'll talk about those in just a moment, for global grant. The other half comes back to our district as district-designated funds, which means the district can decide what we do with them. In our district, most of our district-designated funds are given to either district grants or global grants. We'll talk about both of these. We also have some projects we participate in. We support the peace centers. We support projects with our sister districts, which come back to us as well. But our primary focus is enabling the clubs to do district grants and global grants. So what are district grants? District grants are small-scale, short-term projects that can address needs in our community and communities around the world. They're managed by District 5240, but they use funds provided by the Rotary Foundation. Clubs can use district grants to fund a variety of district and club activities, including scholarships and beautification projects and school projects and equipment projects. In the current year, 59 clubs out of 68 are participating in 63 projects that includes approximately $120,000 of funds that came back to us from the Rotary Foundation. And I'll mention this later, but we are now in the process of accepting applications for the 25-26 district grants. We'll talk about that in a little while. What are global grants? Global grants can support humanitarian projects, graduate level studies, and vocational trainings. Global grants are managed and controlled by the Rotary Foundation. But the best way to learn about global grants is to meet the beneficiaries. So let me introduce you to some. Together, we provide clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, one of the 7 areas of focus. This is David. He's a member of the Water Committee in Las Mercedes, Honduras, a community of 1,800 people who had no reliable access to clean water or sanitation. A Rotary Foundation grant provided a new water tank, a water chlorination system, tap stations to provide water, and eco-latrines. The water system was turned on in 2015, is still running, and is maintained by the Community Water Committee that ensures that every person in the community has access to clean water. What happens? Children no longer get sick from lack of clean water. They stay in school. With latrines at the schools, girls entering puberty have a safe place to tend to their bodily functions, and they stay in school. When I was in Honduras in 2020, I saw David in his village. And as the Rotarians left, his words to us were, "God bless you, Rotary." Together we fight disease. This is Juana Perez, a beautiful 9-year-old girl, except if you look closely, she was born with her feet facing backward. Each morning, her mother would carry Juana to the steps of the cathedral in Esquipulas, Guatemala, and beg for a living. Then Rotary entered Juana's life. Rotarians arranged for Juana and her mother to travel to a hospital in Honduras, where a medical team sponsored by a Rotary Foundation was able to do surgery to correct her feet. Returning to Esquipulas, Rotary arranged for Juana to have physical therapy so she could learn to walk, and also arranged for her mother to get a job. Because of the Rotary Foundation, Juana can go to school, get a job, and raise a family. Together, we save mothers and children. The mother of this young girl lives in Itsosang, a slum near Johannesburg, South Africa. The mother had full-blown HIV/AIDS while she was pregnant. Fortunately for her and her child, during her pregnancy, she was treated at a clinic funded by Rotary Foundation grants. Her child was born healthy with no sign of HIV. You can see the beautiful smile on her face. Together, we support literacy and education. One Rotarian, you can see him there, his name is Ivor Shockey, had a dream. He wanted to instill a love of reading in children in the poor villages surrounding his home in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. The mobile library is funded by a Rotary Foundation grant. It brings books and a love of reading to elementary school children in the rural areas. At each location, a table and chairs are brought out of the van, and children gather to hear stories and to borrow books. And one of the unexpected consequences is that the mothers now come with their child and they listen to stories and help them borrow books. Together, we grow local economies. This is Reina Chavez, who lives in Ventura, California, right here in District 5240. And during the recession, she worked as a CNA, and she worked extra hours to help her family meet ends. But when she went to buy new scrubs, she couldn't find any. High prices, poor customer service, limited selection. So she dreamed of opening her own business. Reina's business, Scrubs on the Run, started as a mobile business, but then she decided to open a retail location. As you can imagine, Reina couldn't go to a traditional bank. The good news is that Reina did receive the funds she needed through a microfinance loan funded by a Rotary Foundation grant. Today, Reina has 2 stores and employs 6 people. As of today, that grant has loaned out more than $400,000 to entrepreneurs in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties and is currently generating taxable revenue in excess of $6 million a year. Together, we protect the environment. Think of your house lit only by light from a kerosene lamp. Through the work of Rotary Foundation grants, more than 35,000 homes in Uganda have replaced their kerosene lanterns with solar lights. The solar light not only saves household fuel costs, it saves family members from lung ailments, eye inflammation, and fear of fire. The home can be filled with environmentally safe life. Together we build peace. More than 1,500 peace fellows are deployed around the world to help eliminate the inhibitors to peace and help build a more peaceful society. Let me take a minute to share a personal note. I selected these projects because they're projects I've been a part of. Many of the photos are my photos. I know many of the people in the pictures. And as Bruce said during the introduction, and as RI President Stephanie Urchek will tell you, every project that I have been involved in impacts the beneficiaries, but also changed my life. So when you get a chance, this is your opportunity to write and share your own stories with other Rotarians. The other thing that people don't always understand is we do global grants right here in District 5240. These are a couple of them, but let me take one in particular. This is our most recent Rotary Foundation Global Grant, mentoring youth aging out of the foster care system. A nonprofit we're working with James Storehouse, a nonprofit in Ventura County that supports children in foster care with an open table mentoring program. The grant allows for expansion to the other 3 counties in our district. The Rotary Foundation gave us a grant for $77,000. Our district contributed $15,000 in cash. Where'd the rest of the money come from? The rest of the money, $62,100, came from the Rotary Foundation and contributions from Rotarians all over the world who donate to the Rotary Foundation so we can make a difference in our own backyard. And that, my friends, is the power of Rotary. I'm going to stop for a minute. Bruce, anything that we should chat about?
Sorry. No, this is inspiring. Nothing new in the chat box. Please continue.
Let's keep going. Polio Plus. Now, I hope that many of you heard Mike McGovern's presentation this morning. It was also recorded, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time repeating what Mike said. But I think one of the important things to remember about Polio Plus is that the Rotary Foundation didn't wake up one day and decide it wanted to eradicate polio. It began, as all Rotary projects do, with a club and a Rotarian. In 1978, the Rotary Foundation awarded a grant to the Philippines to immunize every child in the country against polio, which they did successfully. Based on the success of this project and others like it, in 1985, Rotary and the Rotary Foundation made a commitment to the children of the world to eradicate polio so no one will have to fear this disease. And let me tell you, my father's oldest sister is a polio survivor, and they lived in fear of their children getting polio. I remember standing in line for hours to get the Salk vaccine. The good news is my grandchildren have no idea what polio is, and we want to make that worldwide. Let's go back one. As Mike indicated, we have 6 core partners. We've now immunized almost 3.5 billion children. The Global Polio Eradication Initiative immunizes 350 million children on average on the year. And as we know, we have 2 endemic countries. For many reasons, some of which Mike talked about, 24 was a challenging year for polio eradication. 99 cases in the endemic countries and 1 case in Gaza. And I think many of you are aware of what happened when the case was found in Gaza. The World Health Organization and UNICEF and Rotary came immediately and began immunizing children in Gaza. And more importantly, the combatants laid down their arms so that we immunize children. Where are we today? Today we have 7 cases, 1 case in Afghanistan, 6 cases in Pakistan. And again, Mike spent a lot of time talking about what's going on in Pakistan and the support he has from the leadership there. I encourage you, if you were not there to hear Mike's presentation, to take a look at the recording and share it with friends. So what do you do with your club? First, you should ask a member of the Polio Plus committee to do a program on Polio Plus. People need to understand why polio is important in 2025. We want every club to give to Polio Plus. Our goal is a cumulative average of $1,500 per club. Give what you can, but give something. And I want to congratulate the Rotarians in our district for what they have done already. And I encourage them, if your club has not made a commitment to Polio Plus, now is the time to do it. Have a skip a Starbucks day, have a fundraiser. But our job is to keep our promise to the children of the world. Join the Polio Plus Society. You commit $100 per year to Polio Plus, you get a certificate, you get a pin, and if you join the Kennel Club, you get a beautiful scarf for your pet. October 24th is World Polio Day, celebrating the birthday of Dr. Jonas Salk. A great time to schedule a fundraising event or an education event to get your club members or your community to understand that polio is still with us. Any questions, please contact Jim Lewis, who is our Polio Plus chair, and I know many of you know Jim. Moving on, anything to talk about, either Jim or Bruce?
No new questions. We're coming up on the hour, so we got about 20 more minutes.
All right, we're going. Peace building. During World War I, Rotary on multiplication renewed its commitment to peace building through friendship, education, relief of suffering, and creating an opportunity for better understanding. The Rotary Foundation was founded on the principle it would support Rotary's commitment to bring peace in our world. And as many of you know, peace building and conflict resolution of one of Rotary's 7 areas of focus. Rotary now has 8 peace fellowship schools. The most recent one was literally opened in February in Turkey, primarily focused on the Middle East and North Africa. Each year, Rotary selects up to 130 professionals to either attend a master's program or a certificate program. And as a Rotarian, you have the opportunity to nominate a peace fellow. If you're interested, contact Mike Weaver, who is our Peace Fellow Chair. In 2015-16, under the leadership of District Governor Jim Bell, we became a Rotary Peace Builder District, a designation that has continued to this day. And in support of that peace building commitment, with a lot of thanks to past District Governor Loretta Butts, we created a Peace Builder Club program to help Rotarians learn about their role as peace builders. It combines education and projects that reduce conflict and eliminate inhibitors to peace. If you want to know about the Peace Builder Club project, contact Art Fisher or Willow Baker. And finally, we'll talk about the endowment. A word about your legacy. Arch Clump told us that Rotary's tomorrow depends on what we do today. More than 100 years ago, Rotarians took bold action to ensure our success and the empowerment of generations to come. You can act today to ensure that the causes you support today will continue after you, and tomorrow will continue to be bright for Rotarians and the Rotary Foundation. You can plant the seeds that will bear fruit. Your gift to the endowment may be a direct gift, or it may take the form of a commitment, such a provision in your will or their estate plan that names the Rotary Foundation endowment as beneficiaries. One of the ways you ensure that the causes you support today will continue after you is to invest in the endowment. By the way, if you've included the Rotary Foundation in your will or estate plan and have not told the district or the foundation, please let us know so that we can thank you. If you have questions, please contact Endowment and Major Gifts Chair, David Gore. Keep going, Bruce.
Keep going. You're doing great, Nick.
Let's talk about donor recognition. We all know that Rotarians love bling. And we honor donors in many ways. You can, as many of you know, you become a Paul Harris Fellow when you cumulatively give $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. You can then become a multiple Paul Harris Fellow until you become a major donor when your cumulative donorship reaches $10,000 or more. If you give every year, become a member of the Paul Harris Society. Commit $1,000 each year to the Rotary Foundation. You can join the Arch Clump Society when your total contributions and commitments reach $250,000. Anybody who is on this Zoom and would like to become a member of the Arch Clump Society, please contact Bruce Howard. He will absolutely help you. The other thing is, you say to me, where do I go find all these different forms to do it? Well, they're all on the Rotary Foundation, and we'll talk about, on the district website. We'll talk about that before we finish. There's also recognition for the endowment. You become a benefactor at $1,000. You become a bequest society member at $10,000 or more. You can name an endowment with $25,000. I have a named endowment in memory of my wife, Heather, which was supported by many Rotarians in our district. And it's committed to community economic development, which was her passion. It started with $25,000. It's now more than $40,000. If you want to commit $1 million or more to the Rotary Foundation, please do so, and then you can become a member of the Legacy Society and look at the opportunity you have. $250,000 to the Arch Cone Society, $1 million to the Legacy, and you will get your name on the wall in Evanston. What more can you ask for? There is club recognition. 100% Foundation Giving Club. Everybody in your club gives $25 to the Rotary Foundation, and per capita giving is at least $100. Every Rotarian every year. Now, let me tell you something about every Rotarian every year. Last year, with 40-some thousand clubs, there were less than 5,000 clubs that made this award. Every dues-paying member contributes at least $25 to the annual fund with per capita giving of $100 to the annual fund. You can become a 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club when every dues-paying member is a member of the Paul Harris Fellow. It's a one-time recognition from Rotary, but it is a point in the awards for the Rotary Foundation from District 5240. So let's talk about what you should be doing. Do you know what your club's goals are? Do you know what your club is giving to the foundation? Do you know what's going on in your club or in your district? Make sure that your club tells its members what they're doing. Have a party when you achieve the goal, but don't stop. Questions? Go to fundraising chair Wade Nomura. Grants. If you've got a 24-25 grant, submit the final report when it's completed. Clubs will be reimbursed immediately when the final report is approved. 25-26 district grants, we're now accepting applications through March 31. If you don't want to do a project, join with others. And if you're interested in a global grant, we've got several global grants that are looking for international partners. Please let Jerry Porter know. You should also be getting ready for 25-26. Now's the time to create your committee, review your giving history, create your goals, post your goals in Rotary Club Central, and then make them happen. The District Rotary Foundation is here to help you. This is our District Rotary Foundation. I know it's an eye chart. For those of you who are passionate about the foundation and would like to serve at the district level, let me know. We're also looking for a newsletter editor. So if you know somebody who's passionate about that kind of capability, please let us know. But if you would like to serve at the district level, we'd love to have you. And I'll stop for a minute for questions.
Nick, I have one. I'm not very organized. So to send money, to send money regularly is really hard for me. Is there a way, if I wanted to give regularly to the Rotary Foundation, is there a way to do that?
There is, absolutely. You can set up your bank account or your credit card to every month do something called Rotary Direct. And each month a contribution can be made to the Rotary Foundation. For example, if you want to do $1,000 a year to donate to the Paul Harris Fellow, you can take that, divide it into 12 blocks, and set up your credit card or your bank to put that money directly. You'll get recognition from the Rotary Foundation. If you have any questions, please contact our annual fund chair, Bruce Howard. Any other questions, Bruce, or comments?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, and I don't see any hands raised.
Anybody want to raise their hand and or make a comment or ask a question?
Do we have anybody from the District Rotary Foundation Committee that wants to add anything? David, I think Jerry's on the call. Anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, Bruce, Jerry Porter here. I've been contributing monthly through Rotary Direct for a number of years. And the way I do it is I contribute $72 a month to the annual fund and $18 a month to Polio Plus. And that gives me $1,000 a year, which makes me eligible for Paul Harris Society.
That's a great idea,
That's a
Jerry.
very good idea. I think David is unmuted also.
You betcha. Thank you very much. From your favorite stewardess here.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, I thought that was a glamorous job. When I applied here to Nick for steward chair, I got a slightly less glamorous, but no less rewarding. Hey, no, I wanted to echo what Jerry just said. I've also been part of the Rotary Direct system, and that's been really super helpful. And I also wanted to say that because it's allowed Olivia and me, we've been in Rotary long enough now to be able to make donations to the Rotary Foundation for quite some time. Finally, we got into the major donor status a few years ago, and it's allowed us to continue making those sorts of contributions. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, because I know how important annual programs is to all of us here. But since I became a major donor, since Olivia and I became major donors, we've also been making steady contributions on a monthly basis through Rotary Direct to the endowment fund too. And that's been a great way to make sure that we can continue to grow the Rotary Foundation in a way that will outlast us, outlast our lifetimes. So just love to be able to share that thought with everybody here on the call today. It's once you've gotten up to your major donor status, you're no longer trying to earn Paul Harris Fellow credits, so you can give money to the endowment that doesn't really harm your ability to continue doing good in the world and doing good in a long-term way.
David, I have a question for you and your wife. Was it 10,000 each to get to major donor, or was it 10,000 cumulative?
Oh, I just so love that question, because I was surprised. I didn't know what the answer was to your question until we got there. But when Olivia and I had as community property in California here had made a $10,000 contribution from the both of us to the Rotary Foundation, then we both became eligible for major donor status, and Olivia got her bling and I got mine, and that was really super satisfying to see that the Rotary Foundation recognizes that it's not just one person, not just the Rotarian making the contribution, but really the both of you are doing that sort of thing. Any married couple can do that, and that's just a great thing to be able to do that sort of stuff. So since that time, we've been using that Rotary Direct to be able to continue making those contributions to the annual programs fund, where most of our money still goes, but also to the endowment and to Polio Plus. And boy, it's been great. And so we just this last year during here the 24-25 year, we got into the major donor level 2 status, and we're happy with that too.
But by the way, Dave, there's an enactment before the Council on Legislation to allow Paul Harris Fellow credit for contributions to the endowment. So hopefully that will take care of that. But thank you very much. And what you're hearing David say, he's giving money today, excuse me, and he's giving money for the future. And thank you very much, David. Any other comments or questions before we wrap up a little bit?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, Nick.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody on this call and their clubs. Today, if I remember correctly, is March 8th. As of today, our district as a whole has given over $925,000 to the Rotary Foundation. The largest amount going to the annual fund, about 600,000. David, to your point, $150,000 to the endowment. And again, I'm going to ask if your club, our goal this year is 100% contribution to the annual fund per club. Not no, I'd love it to be per person. I'd be happy per club. Every club gives something to the annual fund. Every club gives something to Polio Plus. So if you're not sure what your club is doing, go back and ask. You can make a difference today. You can make a difference in the future. And I think what hopefully you have seen is that the Rotary Foundation makes the impossible possible. But the PowerPoint will be posted. There are a lot of reference materials behind the PowerPoint, behind this slide, that I didn't want to take the time presenting, but it will tell you where to go to the district to find resources. Where do you go to the Rotary website to find resources? Where do you go to the Learning Center to find resources? And what are the contacts for all the members of the District Rotary Foundation Committee? So the PowerPoint will be posted. It does have all of my notes in it. And there is 4 or 5 pages of references behind it. But
Nick,
as you leave,
one more in the chat from Sharon from Simi Noon. And this is for you, Nick. She's saying, thank you, amazing contributions. They're 100% annual fund and Polio Plus Club. And she's saying your presentation has been so informative. She's been on a few and she's feeling so much more well-versed in TRF. And I think we all think that, Nick. Good job. That was a great presentation.
please call me or any member of the committee. You know, one of the things about giving is sometimes you have to remind people we're here to help wherever you are in the district. And this is a picture from a group of young boys in Honduras, and you can see the smiles on their faces. That is our goal, that every child in the world has a smile on their face. Your gift to the Rotary Foundation will help all of us unite for good. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of the day.